There's a dust cart coming, I would crack it if you can. Oh no, don't, there's two cars coming this way.
Oh, I reckon I can do it. We're in a cheeky loop. I nearly said Lupo GTI. Oh gosh.
Oh, go, lost track with it. Go, 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 go!
8.8 seconds to the 62.
It's got some pep!
So it is quicker to 60 than
it's alright, isn't it? Well, we didn't get absolutely mashed by a dust cart, so I would consider that a victory.
I like working under pressure.
For the up. But you see, that wouldn't have been exciting in a higher performance car. It would have been too easy. Golf R would have just driven away.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of peril there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lovely little gearbox as well. You can just fire through the gears.
Yeah.
I do like a cheeky 3-pop.
I do as
that
well.
wants to scream.
I do.
Yeah.
There's certain engines, and I don't know if it's because of their rarity or because they just have inherent personality, but like 3s, 5s.
Yeah. What the 5 is iconic.
V10s.
Yes,
and it's also because you don't get many of them, but they are inherently high
exotic
personality engines.
Yeah, they are.
Do you know something about this engine? I remember when I was reading up about the standard up, that normally a 3-cylinder would have balancer shafts on it because they're inherently a little bit rough.
Yeah.
And this doesn't. The balance is achieved by just very carefully. I guess it's kind of like, conrod weighting and the crank.
Okay.
And so
I'm interested.
It's weight matched. They've tried to just make it balanced by paying more attention to how it's designed. Whee!
Yeah. I know the one other thing that I don't particularly like.
It's a bit floaty there. It just felt like it went a little bit.
It does, but I'm avoiding these massive potholes.
But
which
look at that!
It
deals with it. Look at that! I mean, that was a lovely
the
way it
went
over. Oh, hello!
Oh my goodness!
It wasn't a roundabout,
and it wasn't a roundabout. I was getting ready
drove
to.
It like a roundabout.
That
could have been really interesting. But there, look, this is. Oh, hello!
I've put the keys to the up on my usual chain, and suddenly it just looks like a janitorial chain because it's one of those cars you actually need the key in the ignition.
Yeah,
to
it's
do
nice
stuff.
though, isn't it? It's like it's almost like it's going back to the old days.
This car really is going back to the old days. I like
it, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
It's a hatch of the old school because it doesn't have a super large amount of power.
It doesn't have and it's not heavy.
It's not heavy.
And it's got a manual wand.
I'm going to, under my benevolent reign, I'm going to make it illegal for people to just endlessly compare this to the Mark 1 Golf, even though I did just that.
Well, the Mark 1 Golf's lighter. There's your...
Yes, it is, but it's also, the Mark 1 Golf doesn't have, airbags and Bluetooth stereo and stuff, does it?
No, it's not as safe.
It's not.
I'd rather crash in this than
not.
Mark 1.
It doesn't have a turbo. And
This
has a little turbo on it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I've driven this very, very briefly.
Have you?
Very briefly, and it felt good to me. But you've driven it for quite a long time now.
I've had it 4 or 5 days, and I've spent good time with it. I really, really like it.
Yeah.
It's not perfect. One thing that I will say.
I don't know why I went like that, as if the acceleration is not Herculean, is it? But
it's zippy.
But it's brisk.
It's deceivingly quick in that way that Audis are, where you never feel like you're really going that quick until you glance at the speedo. But the main problem I've found with this car, and it must be my seat adjustment, is that actually I can't see the speedo between 10 miles an hour and 120. I cannot see any of the speedometer.
It's a rarely used zone, isn't it?
I'm just doing
10
this.
to 120 area.
I'm popping into
why
a 30.
Why don't you just put your wheel up a little?
Because I don't want to drive it like that. I fucking hate that. I want it down. I want it pretty much vertical.
Why don't you put the seat up a little?
I want to be as low. This is as low as the seat goes, and it's not low enough for me. No, and I'm very specific. It does have photosynthesis. It does have synthesis.
It has a synthesizer duo under the bonnet. Is it Erasia?
Yeah, it's got Vince Clarke and Andy Bella. It's somewhere in the dash.
It's yes, it does. It has a, what do they call it? Is it a symposium?
It is symphosis. It's a Nazi sympathiser under the bonnet, which is a real shame. They always ruin it.
So yes, but it's not. So it's not full synth. It's more like it's a thing that, isn't it? A little resonator thing.
Yeah, just listen.
If this door goes open now, I'm going to fall out. Whoa! Now I believe since we're on the subject of driving like a maniac, you can't turn the stability control off.
Well, you could hold your finger on that,
Yeah.
and it says City Emergency Brake Deactivated.
Okay, but that's a whole separate thing, isn't it?
But
That's
look
not-
at the logo.
Yeah.
That's the only.
Yeah. So there's no ESP disengage.
Not that unless it's up there, which
No, it's not.
I
Because
don't think it is.
I looked into this.
Although it is quite forgiving. You can.
Well,
it'll allow scrabble.
As you helmed it around that roundabout, it
Yeah.
felt to me like as you gassed it and then lifted off,
Yeah.
that the tail was coming into play a little bit.
Absolutely, my son. Do you know what? The first 2 days of me driving this car, I was thinking, I love the tartan.
I like the
I
tartan
like
a lot.
I like the engine. 999cc triple turbo.
Just 999cc.
And all good retail
Yeah.
stores. Exactly. Yeah. However, the plastics are the plastics, and they're not
They're
brilliant.
not bad, are they? Well, I mean, God, so here's the headline that really I like about this car is that it's not very
It's
expensive.
13 grand. new.
£13,000. What can you get for 13 grand?
Well, this is the thing.
I mean,
and it's
what can you get for
actual-
13 grand full stop? But then what can you get for 13 grand that's quite amusing?
That's GTI.
The
That's
GTI
hot
has
hatchery.
got some stuff in it where you feel like, well, you're getting something for your money here. I mean, I know these tartan seats probably don't cost any more than normal seats,
They're
but
called Jakara seats, I think,
Are
or
they?
Jakara.
but they're jazzy.
Yeah,
I
they
like
are.
them. They're jazzy.
Yeah.
I'm not so keen on this funny graphic on the dashboard. I could live without that, but it's okay.
I got in this car when I received it, and I brought it with you to show it. When I got it, I was wearing this.
What is this?
It's a jumper, Richard.
Oh, yeah, I
It's
see.
my real jumper. However, I got in it and went, that's kind of like the dash.
Well, it's sort of not miles off the seats, truth be
Ah,
told.
but then you say, well, while we're sitting in this temporary traffic lights, I got in the car and because I was looking around it, and I was wearing my slippers, which are the same, pretty sort of the same. All right, they're not that the same. Oh gosh, the car's first world problems. You're piddling around with your moccasins, and the lights go to green.
You have a lot of tartan stuff for a man who isn't in his 80s, I would say.
I've embraced it in the last few years because I like mixing it up with other things.
Right.
I think it's healthy.
That's all right. I mean, don't mix it with stripes.
Look, I'm not blimmin' Christopher Giddens. You know, is that his name?
Christopher Giddens.
Christopher Biggins.
Oh, right. Why does
I'm-
he mix textures and patterns?
Well, he's an ex children's television
Oh, I
presenter.
see.
He's a massive thespian.
He is, yeah.
Of course, he wears bright colours. He'll wear a bow tie.
He will wear a bow tie, which we've already established is potentially at issue. So my next door neighbour bought an up. He used to have a Golf, and when he retired, he bought an up. And I said, "How are you getting on with it?" And he went, "Oh, I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. It's just perfect for me." And I said, "It is like a Golf that they've shrunken down." And he went, "Oh yes, I never thought of that. That's why I like it."
Never thought of that.
Yeah, it's like because he's not interested in cars, but he used to have a Golf. He liked his Golf.
Yeah.
He bought something that felt like a Golf but smaller because he didn't need a bigger car.
Well, I think that
and that's the
this
thing;
is-
they do feel very grown
they
up, but
do
not
feel-
not boring somehow. They're sort of sensible, but not boring.
You're absolutely right. Whereas the VW Polo has, for a long time, been your sort of Paul Ross to your Jonathan Ross.
Yes, it is. It's the Paul Ross of Volkswagens, isn't
And
it?
unfortunately, I think they try really hard with it, but it very rarely does it satisfy.
No, I just drove the new Polo, and I came away thinking, yes, it was all very nice, but I think I'd probably just get a Golf.
Or an up.
Because let's be honest, well, yeah, if you really don't need, I mean, for God's sake, 13 grand for this, that's,
Yeah.
you know, that's like a sort of really spec Polo.
Yeah.
Do you need that much room? Because it's not that much more room. It's another thing I find impressive about this car. There's
Good-
sort of a bit of space in it.
Good packaging, absolutely.
It's-
I want my wife, Mrs. Carperver, I want her to actually buy one of these, but she won't entertain it.
Really?
She hasn't even got in it. She just goes
What?
too small.
Oh.
But I said, but the packaging is not like you'd expect,
Yeah.
and it's so much fun to drive. It's so zippy.
Well-
And Tiff will love the fact that you can easily change gear without the clutch,
Can you?
because It doesn't come in any other flavour apart from manual.
Yeah.
No double
Again,
clutch.
I like that old school.
Chisel,
Keep
yeah.
it simple. Key in the ignition. Clutch on the floor.
And no suspension settings. It is what it is.
Yeah. Now,
And they've
again,
done a
something
fine
else
job.
that I like is, look, we're going on these sort of bumpy country roads. The ride is really good.
Ride's amazing.
And as Lotus have taught us, the ride is important for making progress across country. I don't know why I did the Quentin voice, and that's TIFF. It's a TIFF kind of the handling. It doesn't suffer for the fact that the suspension is actually, I wouldn't call it soft, but it's really comfortable, isn't it? It's really VW-y. They
pliable. Do you know the other thing? Stuff. After about 2 days of living with it, the thing that really got me was how good the steering is and the frontal grip. And it's polo-based steering, and a lot of polo.
You think it would dissolve in water?
Yeah.
I know.
But it's honestly the grip on this car and the playability with it is phenomenal.
Yeah. So the steering's alright because, like I said, I drove it really briefly, and I didn't get to chuck it around too much. But I just thought, you get a vibe off cars of whether they're good or not. You can tell, and some cars grow on you, and some cars reveal themselves to actually be not as good as you thought. But you generally get a sort of, when you've driven a few cars, you get a sense, and I got a sense off this car that it's not. It's not a 911 GT3 RS, but it has a great personality.
It could be a 911. Close your eyes. Yeah.
It's not dissimilar. It's in the spectrum.
It is in the spectrum
of cylinder counts divisible by 3.
And it does a little bit. I'm going to mention Mark 1 Golf GTI. It does what it hydrofoils like Mark 1s did. They really rise up under hard first and second.
Do they?
Yeah, they lift like that and squat their bums. They always did that.
Yeah.
They drag like dog with worms, wiping his bottom on the grass. It's like that. But I've driven it. I've driven it frequently, 100% throttle through every year.
And this is another thing, right? I mean,
this is full throttle.
I know I'm banging on about the fact that it's.
I was a Civic in a field.
I saw a Civic
just
in
so
the
you
field.
know.
Civic in the field. I know I keep saying it's 13 grand, and it seems like that's quite good value, but it's also the fact you're paying £13,000 for the car, and then you get to use all of it.
Exactly.
All of the time.
You can explore its outer limits all day, every day, and I kind of like that. Because there's so many sports cars and hatches, 300 plus horsepower hatches.
Yeah.
Where are you going to get? Where are you going to ring out all 300 horse?
That's the problem, and it becomes frustrating, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I get this because I've got my 911 and I use it to commute around London, and sometimes, although it's a terrific everyday car because it's comfy, you can see out of it, the aircon works, all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's very frustrating. Sometimes you're like, I want to get into a situation where, unfortunately, in the city you can't use any of its performance particularly, and you feel like you're driving a caged animal.
Yeah. Oh, it's a racehorse kept in a spare room.
So we're doing 50 now, but it feels like we're clipping along, and yet we're not. There's cars in front of us. We're doing the speed limit, so there's no danger of getting flashed or.
Brakes are off a Polo. Vented discs off a Polo.
Are they?
Yeah, electric.
Any good?
Yeah, the brake. Just again, the feel is all really familiar and fun.
It's the virtuous circle of lightness, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I can feel it through corners. You're cornering in a Helmsrighty way, but I can feel it does do that thing that it's quite a lot of VWs do, where it feels like it's rolling onto its sidewalls. So there's a sort of initial turn, and there's a bit of a sort of,
and then it will smear,
and
but
then
only a light smear.
Well, it was sort of.
It's telling me I ought to be in 5th gear.
Well, it can mind its own business.
But I've noticed.
Or it's telling you ought to be on 5th gear. Is it? As a fan?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Best thing you ever did, Johnny.
I know. Maybe one day. Been there, done it. The 16 series. Yeah. See, I have to sort of do a double chin. Basically, if I'm doing that, I'm looking at the speedo.
That's one of your issues with this car. What else don't you like about it?
I think the doors all feel a bit flimsy because we know this car is built to a strict budget. It doesn't feel like a Golf in that enclosed capsule way.
I didn't remember. I thought it was.
It's vocal though,
isn't it? But in a nice way.
I know it's artificial symposium synthesizers.
Well, yeah, but I don't.
It's not offending me.
It's convincing.
It's not offensive.
Some of that is the real engine.
I mean, yeah, some of it is. Yeah, because I actually went outside to listen to the original engine. Oh, I think that's a tank dealership.
Of course it is.
Seriously, I think that's a tech dealership.
Well, the countryside's weird, isn't it? So, can I be really boring for a minute? and my eye has been caught as I keep looking at the speedo because you can't see it.
Yeah, I just can't see it.
My eye has been caught by the average fuel consumption display you've got up there.
Yeah.
And it's currently doing, even with a driving, frankly, like your hair's on fire.
I'll see you next Tuesday.
It's doing 44.2 miles to the gallon, which
Yeah.
is good. But I also noticed that earlier, before you really put the hammer down, it was doing 47
Yeah.
by its own maths.
And that's real. So
Well, it's marking its own homework, so it's not totally real. But it's not going to lie that much because it's a VW and they're completely honest. Even so, it seems to me that considering you drive it in a pretty sort of ragga style-y,
yeah.
it's quite a frugal car.
I've driven it as hard as I can possibly drive it on the roads near my house, and I can't get it to do less than 32 to the gallon. Genuinely cannot get it. So in a normal car, when you if you were to do that in your 911, it would show like.
Oh, what, on the instant?
Yeah, average.
Zero. Oh, I see.
Average, like driving it flat out everywhere. There's a
normal app.
driven
You'll be
by
really
a
jealous
young
of
guy who looked like he had the same hairstyle as my mate used to have a Cavalier SRI in 1996. He looked like he was straight out of 96.
Well, he hasn't got the
I wonder if his
hairstyle
nickname is
for this.
Tap. That's what
Tap?
my mate with the Cavalier
Tap?
SRI, he was called Tap.
What kind of nickname is Tap?
Well, he had a nose like a tap, unfortunately.
What?
His real name is Andrew.
Hot and cold running water came out of it.
No, but he did 110 in third in that Cavalier.
They were quite long-geared.
Very
weren't they?
and quite
Weren't they?
strong.
Yeah. Oh, strong.
Really strong.
Oh, strong engines. In
Tap
those.
Tap got through 3 Cavs. So not massively keen on the how high the clutch pedal is.
Yeah.
Can't see the speedo.
Yeah.
Plastics are a bit iffy, but all is forgiven because of price tag.
Clutch, don't know. Speedo, adjust your seats differently. Plastics, they really do not bother me. I'm going to say. Well, now you've gone the wrong way. You need to adjust the wheel first.
That's really good. I feel like I'm in an SUV. I'm in an Up UV, whatever that is.
Up yours. Up.
Bloody hell! This
Are you able to maintain the control of the car? Can I just ask?
I've not eaten my crisps.
I know.